Hey folks, it's Nate. Thanks for joining me once again as we look to the horizon. It's time for another writing update vlog. And this week I managed to write about 2 chapters of Fire and Gold, which is a pretty good start, I think, to the story. And I like the way it's developing. I think I found a good blend of innuendo to hint at the kinds of terrible things that these villains are doing, and enough exposition on the characters to understand what motivates them without being crass or heavy handed. It's very easy writing this kind of story, which is specifically about individuals who are driven by a kind of greed, not the usual kind of greed, but a strong desire for immortality and a desire to monopolize the resources necessary to achieve that. And it's very easy to write them in crass or straightforward ways that undersell, I think, the human complexities that kind of give rise to these very evil atrocities that people can do. And yes, it's clear from the outside that they are doing something evil and something morally reprehensible. But when you are in the midst of those circumstances, and what makes them so dangerous is that all of the motivations individually are quite natural and quite human. And it's only when you allow them to kind of snowball and drag you away from the foundation that underlies each of those motivations, a desire to live and continue achieving things for the betterment of yourself and others, which is, one of our base motivations, when combined with a kind of egotism and self-centrism and a loss of perspective on the importance of what's around you. It's very easy to be dragged into those actions, and I'm trying to display all of those intersecting factors a little bit at a time and make it clear that, yes, these characters, while morally reprehensible, while pretty much completely committed now to a series of actions that are wholly evil, are still driven there by normal human motivations. And I think that's something that's really missing in fiction right now. There are a lot of mustache twirling villains in fiction right now, unfortunately. People who are driven by some kind of grandiose sense of injustice or some kind of just deep personal bigotry, and not a whole lot of examination of the actual human factors that tend to drive us to harm others in very selfish and very wicked ways. And I'm trying to make the story a balance between an understanding that, yes, evil is very much a part of human nature. It's not something we can avoid just by changing the systems we live in, and an acknowledgement of the fact that, yes, once we have indulged in evil, we are going to build systems that reinforce our evil and spread it very quickly in the world around us, which is also part of, what makes the villains in Fire and Gold very interesting. The Gold Drinkers are essentially a take on the vampire mythos, which is this very, very selfish and parasitic way of living. It's kind of a metaphor for a lot of things. People who prey on others, who manipulate others, who exploit others in very, very, bizarre and supernatural ways. In some cases, with mind control and drinking blood, and in other cases through simple emotional manipulation and sexual exploitation. These are the underpinnings of the vampire as it is understood in the modern era. And I think that a lot of the interesting moral lessons from that kind of supernatural fictional construct has been lost in modern storytelling. So I'm trying to get some of that worked into this story, and I'm long way of going about saying I think I'm striking a good balance right now. I'm pretty satisfied with what I'm writing, and I think I'm going to stick with the general tone and tenor of it. as we go on, but we'll see. We'll see. I may require a slightly heavier hand at the rudder as we go forward, and maybe I will have to reuse a lighter touch as we look at um, as we continue to follow these characters for a little bit longer. One of the things I was worried about was telling all of the story from one point of view, and I actually, as I started on the second chapter, I just spontaneously almost changed points of view between the first chapter and the second, and I think that worked really well. So I'm going to stick with 2 points of view. I was originally planning to tell everything from the point of view of a single character, but I think having two viewpoint characters through the body of the story and then a third viewpoint character for the final act will be the final chapter rather will be the best way to go. So that's one of those serendipitous things that happen as you are writing, and you just decide, oh well, maybe we'll try this and it will work out well. And sometimes you try that and it doesn't work, and that's far and away the more common thing. But I think in this case, it worked out pretty well, and I hope to continue to um, find writing this second point of view more satisfying. We'll see. We'll see. Uh, I may scrap it. I may have to rewrite chapter two in a redrafting, but for the time being, I think it works well. We'll see. Um, Anyways, now that I have these two chapters done, I'm pretty sure this story is probably just going to work out to be 8 or 9 chapters, or about and at about 2,000 words apiece. That is weighing in between that 15,000 to 20,000 word mark, which I first estimated once I had the outline done. So I think that's a good length for the story. And again, this is a story I don't want to overstay its welcome. It's not a particularly fun story to write, but it is challenging in its own way, and it I think is expanding what I can write well and um, authentically without being overly crass, which is something that I was concerned about at the beginning of the story, and I have put a little extra time into that as I go forward. Hopefully, my readers are finding it that way as well. So yeah, uh, going pretty well at the rate we are going. I think this story will be over sometime in the middle, or at least I will be done writing it sometime in the middle of January, which is pretty good pacing in my opinion. Anyway, that's all I've got for you today. Let me know what you think of writing evil characters in insightful and human ways in the comments below. If you have any tricks you use, definitely share them here. I would love to hear them, and I will see you next week.